Oh, now I got an echo from Jake.
You do?
Oh, Ferk.
Yeah. You still want to put this in?
No, definitely not. Because we got it down pat. Got my team on my back.
I got it down pat, got the team on my back. Cola Woody, where you at with the work?
All right, here we go. Down Pat episode 2. We got me, Ev, we got Adam, we got Jake. The gang's all here. What did you guys think of episode 1?
It's pretty good. I mean, we got, I think, 12 comments, which was a little higher than I expected, to be honest with you.
It's the first time I was on a podcast. I started out a little nervous. I think I found my way. Maybe not.
Your voice is shaky a little in the beginning, but then you settled in to the normal smooth voice you have.
Once we started talking special teams, Adam just settled down, found his groove. But I think we're going to talk a little special teams today as well. But yeah,
Should we talk about the like revenue thing we're planning on doing?
Sure. Go for it. Why don't you give the spiel to the audience, because this is completely your idea.
Well, so we made a whopping $2 on episode 1, $2. So the idea is, we're recording this for the entire, three preseason weeks and then 17 games regular season. We've always wanted to go to Miami to watch the Pats play. Well, they play week 17 in Miami this year. So the idea is all the revenue from this podcast is going 100% to funding the three of us flying down to Miami to watch the Pats kick the Dolphins' ass in week 17.
We'll do a live podcast there.
We'll do a live podcast from Miami. So basically, this is a GoFundMe for our trip. So,
and we're gonna keep everyone updated on how much the podcast itself's generating just from
We get like $4 or $5 from this episode, or $3.50.
Yeah, we're right on pace.
I guess we'll see. But all right. This is Down Pat episode 2, your favorite Patriots podcast. And now that we actually have an episode out there, we can genuinely say that 12 people said it was their favorite. Yeah. We even got some Penn State love, which Adam had to whip out the Penn State polo. So
one commenter.
He's now Adam's favorite fan of the show, which I love. But all right. Speaking of Adam, we're going to talk about our takeaways from Game 2 of the preseason. There is some positives to pull, but we pumped air in some guy's tires that absolutely, I think he stinks. We're talking Quinn Nordin. He might stink.
That was tough to watch.
Yeah, I kind of got pants there, didn't I? It wasn't. I did say he misses the bunnies. I only saw him kick bunnies. I don't know why he had to miss them by 30 yards. It was like me on the tee box the other day. It's like it's going wayward right, my guy. Like, you got to adjust. Oh, boy. Yeah, I said last week he's a first-name guy. I'm pretty sure I said it's Kobe, LeBron, and Quinn, to quote myself. That is a tough look after last week. We said that he was not going to make the team if he kept missing point afters. We went into that history of point afters missed. And what did he do? Missed the first 3 point afters.
It was bad. Yeah, it was to the point where you knew the next one wasn't going in. You know what I mean? So he misses a couple, and it's like, well, that's not. Then
they kept getting worse. And the one that he did make, it was like it was not pure. They looked like the whole way it was. I mean, yeah, I don't really know the deal with their kicking situation. The reason why, to be fair, the reason why I was pumping this guy's tires so much last week did not have that much to do with last week's preseason game, which was where everyone got hyped about him. It was when he came to training camp, I believe his first 5-6 days, he went he did not miss a kick in training camp, and they were going all the way around. I think he hit from 63 one day. I think he started out training camp 14 of 14. So that's why I was all hype about him. And then he went to the first preseason game and he did it in a game. Yeah, I don't know what his outlook is on the team. I haven't really heard much since last week, but it does not look good. And I will put my hand up and say, I got pantsed. My bad.
Well, and Nick Folk came back today too, so I think the Quinn experiment might be running on its last.
That was so short-lived. That, you know what that reminded me of? Now this is such a weird comparison, but it's almost like a Jonas Gray going off for a week and then literally not hearing about him for the rest of time. I know this was preseason and everything like that, but it was everyone thought this guy was the second coming. And
Adam ordered his jersey, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. Can he get a refund on it, or?
I'm rocking number 7.
Hey, we already talked about revenue on this podcast. I think he'll be able to buy any jersey he wants based on the numbers that we're cruising with lately. But yeah, I mean, that was the biggest negative. Any other negatives that you guys were pulling from that game?
Well, I mean, the biggest negative to me was I think my life flashed before my eyes a little bit N'Keal Harry 50 yards downfield from Mac Jones. It's a beautiful ball. I'm like, this is the moment I've been waiting for 3 years. Everything's coming to fruition. He's going to haul this in from the star quarterback. We're going to be watching this hookup for the next 10 years. And he dropped. It wasn't even close. And it hit him in his forearm.
Yeah, it was.
Like he wasn't. It wasn't like the ground knocked it out or whatever. Like he literally wasn't close to making that catch. And then of course he's like out cold. I mean, he was like on his shoulder.
And that's your guy. That's your guy.
That was like that might be that might be it. I don't know.
I don't know how many times you saw that replay. It's N'Keal Harry actually got yards of separation, what we've been waiting for.
I know.
Perfect ball downfield. If you watch, like, you can slow it down. He slows down. He does not keep running in stride. If he runs in stride, he's catching that and he's walking to the end zone. And everyone the next week is talking about how amazing this potential connection is. He's on the team. Instead, he slows down, dives, separates his shoulder. Like, who even knows? Like, thought he broke his collarbone, thought he might have knocked himself out. He's probably injured. That might have been the last play we ever see N'Keal Harry play for.
So he's out. Apparently out. He's out 4 to 5 weeks. So that puts him at week 2-ish timeline. But I think he's been making all these diving catches in training camp. He just wanted to highlight play. Like he's used to just laying out for it. Like if he just runs through that, like you said, he's still walking to the end zone. Like it's easy. But what a ball for Mac.
He was. You get the play. Watch him at the end of this.
At right here, I was peak excited.
So there's the separation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep running, man. He slows up.
I thought he broke his neck.
Yeah, and he was just you can tell the shoulder was dead though too. But that happens. I feel like when guys have head injuries, you know what I mean, or neck injuries. It's like their body goes limp. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like he leapt. He leapt right there instead of taking one more step. I don't know if he necessarily slowed up, but you didn't need to. He kind of hopped for it.
I'm saying around the 15-yard line, he starts slowing his stride. You can say as far as he shortens his stride, I should say. Maybe not slows it, but instead of taking those long strides, he kind of takes a few steps that they're not. I don't know. I feel like he could have run under it.
Yeah, no pun intended though with the injury. I think that was a legit make or break moment for N'Keal Harry, and
I agree.
He broke in multiple ways because that
earlier in that half too. He gets that first down from Mac Jones on 3rd and 13. It runs a nice route against zone. Mac looks and clearly trusts this guy that throws him into a tight space, picks up the first down.
Out of the end zone too?
Yeah, out of the end zone. So okay, he's trusting this guy on 3rd and 13 out of his own end zone. Maybe there is some chemistry there. And then to go deep to him like that, maybe he does have some chemistry with N'Keal, but you're talking about a guy that's now going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks.
In a time where it's so crucial that he this was the offseason where you hear everything about him, one, it starts with, he's going to get traded. He wants to be traded, all this. And then all of a sudden it starts coming out he's made some improvements. He looks pretty good, blah, blah, blah. To now a point where, he finally gets, not to say finally got a shot, but then, and he just gets injured. Now he's out. You missed, that was his sort of moment and he blew it. I know he got injured, but in more ways than one, it's just that the blown opportunity, and I don't think he's coming. I don't think he gets that same opportunity anymore now. And I know it sounds so weird, us overhyping one throw in a preseason game, but it's this N'Keal Harry story is 10 chapters deep, and that may have actually been the last chapter.
Yeah, it sucks. No, tough night for our guys, but there was obviously a lot of positives from the game. I thought Cam looked the best we've ever seen him in a Pats jersey. I know it's against Eagles, scrubs, but at least the ball came out with zip. It was accurate. He moved up in the pocket. He made a couple plays, extending plays. He looked good. And then Mac, I thought, looked excellent again for the second straight week.
Do you guys think, this is my question for both of you, we're saying it's a positive that Cam looked good, right? Is that a positive? Do we want at this point Cam Newton starting to look good in a Patriots uniform?
I think it's a positive, from the fact that it doesn't hurt to have this guy at least be able to why rush Mac into it? Even if Mac is ready, why slow play it a little bit, 3, 4, 5 weeks? It doesn't hurt to have 2 quarterbacks that look good, right? I know that the adage of you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one, but in this case, it's we know Mac is the successor, but it doesn't hurt that we have a guy that can go out there, win you a couple games, while Mac like doesn't have to be thrown into the fire day one. But of course, I mean that whole wrinkle with the COVID stuff today, like I don't know, that throws a whole nother dimension to the Cam Newton saga, I think.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that too. I always we touched upon this last week, Jake. You actually made the point where if you put Mac Jones as the week 1 starter, do you lose Cam Newton? Mm-hmm. And kind of like one thing I want to definitely talk about how good Mac Jones looked, especially attacking the second layer of the defense, which we didn't really see him do that much week 1. It was a lot of checkdowns week 1. This past game, he was zipping the ball. He was taking chances. It was fun to see. The one play that we saw, though, we heard like the left knee brace was precautionary on that 3-yard scramble when he slid. And he took a second and you're like, oh my God, all he did was slide. But he looked like he was in some pain. And I think the big knock, on Mac Jones right now is his potential durability issues. He might not be NFL ready body-wise. So if you're Bill Belichick, why is he ready for a 17-game plus season with playoffs and you don't draw losing Cam Newton? So I think we're looking at week 5 because it's after the Tampa Bay game and maybe we'll see what happens. But I think Bill might be looking at this ideally, he must there's probably going to be a part in the season where either Cam Newton gets hurt or there's a COVID situation where Cam can't play, which we've seen, where that's your opportunity to put Mac Jones in. And then that way you don't lose Cam Newton and he would still be on the team because he didn't lose his job necessarily. It's this guy came in.
That's the best of both worlds, right?
Exactly. So I think if you're looking at it this way, it's a positive Cam Newton played well because I think almost regardless, I don't think Mac Jones is going to start week 1. We can disagree on that, whether he should or not. I think this team's at its best if Mac Jones is playing or has the highest ceiling. However, would you rather Mac Jones play week 17 or be hurt and then you have Cam Newton for a playoff run potentially? So I think 100%. That's what we're weighing.
But after watching Cam game 2, I'm oh, he's 100% starting week 1. And now with the COVID stuff, I don't know.
It's so him. It's so
they have
him.
a couple more of those joint practices too, right? Now he's
gonna miss those joint practices
exactly, and those are more to read into than the last preseason game. After that second game, it was Cam's job to lose, right? And he may have, not saying it's best case scenario, but he may have lost it. He was out because of breaking COVID protocol or whatever, but he has to get tested still, right? Did they get reports back on that? Because what if now he has COVID? That's even longer.
I think he was negative, but I think because he left I don't know, he went to another appointment somewhere else, so he had a test. But even if he tested negative, which he did, I think they still are. It's a 5-day waiting period or something before you can. But it's begs the question, not to get into all of the vaccine, not vaccine, but why is your starting quarterback not vaccinated? That's if this isn't if this happens in week 10,
is Mac?
I think he's. Do you think he's?
I don't know. What if,
I think he is.
We're talking about these two guys. What if they both just have COVID issues midway through the year? I'm oh well, shit.
Brian Hoyer's
time.
Guy got vaccinated twice.
Guy already got the booster.
This is my chance to shine. Well, the thing is, we kind of figured that maybe Cam wasn't vaccinated because he was wearing the mask, which you had to if you were not vaccinated, and Mac Jones hasn't worn the mask in his press conferences. So I think Mac is probably vaccinated, but I don't know. That would suck if they lost both those guys to COVID.
Especially to maybe not even getting it, just breaking protocol, which I don't know. Yeah. I mean, does that I guess I don't probably know as much about it as you guys are read enough about it, but is it stupid what Cam did to go and break protocol? Is this just another sort of blemish on Cam Newton? He's better than everyone else. He goes and now he steps out and breaks protocol to now have to miss the next 5 days or so.
It's unclear because the Pats said that they signed off on it. So
it seems like it's
Pat's not aware of the protocol either. It doesn't really make sense.
I think what's concerning though is, and I don't want to get into the political aspect of whether you should or shouldn't get vaccinated. I do think, you're seeing a lot of NFL quarterbacks speak out over this around the league. I'm not even going to comment on it. It is what it is. But with regards to the Patriots and Cam Newton, last year you start the season off pretty well, despite the whole not having an off season with a new quarterback. And then Cam getting COVID, you could say, really derailed their season. He started off good.
1,000,000%.
They were 2-1 after that Seahawks game. Could have been he looked really good. Then you lose that Chiefs game. He said that he never fully recovered. So if you're Cam Newton and you're in a QB battle and you know that this is happening, if I was him, I would be doing everything possible to stay on the field. So, and he's tweeting about loyalty and all of that stuff. It's like, all right, you want us to have loyalty to you? You best be on the field and you're not missing time over something that you can prevent. So it's a bit of a, I don't know. The 5-day thing sounds like an honest mistake. The fact that he's still unvaccinated, despite what happened last season, I know it's his choice. I get that, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't like that.
It is weird. It's like this. If he wants to claim that that's what ruined his season last year, which he has claimed, then do everything you can to at least prevent that from happening this upcoming season. And there's literally like a 2-second shot that could put you forward towards that. But like, I think we're all saying the same thing about not getting into it politically. Like, I'm not trying to tell Cam Newton to get the vaccine or anything like that. But when it has a direct correlation to now he potentially might miss time because of COVID type of thing, it's like, seems like a no-brainer, but I'm not in his mind.
This could play out very similar to the Chargers last year with Tyrod Taylor and Herbert, where like Taylor is starting, and then that whole botch with the
you think someone's gonna stick a needle in Cam? You think his vaccine's gonna like puncture his lung?
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm saying this could be a situation where even like this thing is so fluid. Like, Cam could be starting week 1 and fail a test the day of if he's not, like, and then Max slid into the start. Like, the amount of testing for these unvaccinated players, like, even if Cam started, you can never rely on him because all it takes is one test or one protocol broken. It could be the day of the game, and like all of a sudden he's now out. So, like, it's almost like Mac Jones has to be fully prepared to be starter. Like, if this is it's not like an injury where like ahead of time, like he's gonna have to be prepared to be started like basically the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, and like I think that kind of circles back to like my initial question too that started. It was like, is this like a knock on Cam for just breaking protocol? Forget the vaccine, forget potentially getting COVID. The guy breaks protocol. I don't care if the team signed off on it. If he's doing it now when he's in the middle of a quarterback race, what's going to stop him from doing that in a week 2 game against a nobody team or something like that? Like, it doesn't strike me as he's being precautionary whatsoever. Now, again, we don't know what the protocol was. It could have been something completely like warranted. Maybe he had to go to his family for a death in the family, like God forbid, something like that. But I wish we would hear something like that so that we could make a correct judgment about it rather than just wrapping it into, Cam Newton's at hit being like kind of like, Cam Newton again.
Yeah, it just seems like protocol is so easy to break too. Like, to your point, Evan, like, even if he doesn't know he's doing something wrong or whatever, like, if this happens a day before the Bucks, right? Like, it doesn't matter if he didn't know or if it was a serious thing or not. Like, if he has to break protocol to do something, it's like, that kind of screws the Pats if their game plan is built around Cam Newton for that week. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a guy you can rely on. Like, this is not.
Think about the 2 different offenses, like completely different sort of offenses different. You're thinking.
And this is what, like, to the Cam Mac, like, future, like, obviously, I think we see Mac definitely even as the future of this season. But to the talking about I'm kind of talking about what Cam Newton said about Mac Jones after week 1 when he was like saying he's the most serious guy, like, crazy work ethic, but like, I'm just trying to like make a joke with him. And it's like, well, to Cam's credit, to talk about Cam here, it's like the quarterback is basically the CEO of this team. And if you want your CEO like joking around all the time, it's like, no, I like that Mac is serious. You think I don't think it's a mistake that Mac Jones has a broken protocol. I feel like that guy literally goes home and like eats the most bland dinner and watches film all night. And that's like, and then goes to bed at like 9 p.m. and is probably like trying to win a job. And Cam's like cracking jokes and like in press game conferences. And it's like, I don't know. As far as a quarterback, what have we seen work in this state of this team and really around the league? It's usually the guy that's serious is the quarterbacks that are good. And I think I like that Cam Newton has a personality. I think it's a little bit refreshing, but I also think he's commenting kind of almost, he didn't say it as a negative, but I feel like he was trying to like crack a joke at Mac Jones' expense a little bit. And it's like, I looked at that as the opposite, where I'm like, why aren't you more serious? Because
this guy takes his job super seriously. What a loser. It's like,
and he's getting paid, it's like he's getting paid millions of dollars to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I think I don't necessarily look at this as a knock on Cam Newton if it was a one-off, but because he got COVID last year, which I forget how he got COVID last year. He also gave Stephon Gilmore COVID last year, if I remember right. Wasn't that like part of the thing?
They had dinner together or something.
Yeah, like they exposed, like it's like because of that, you get a little less rope this time. And it's like it seems like he's kind of hanging himself. But we'll see what happens.
My the thing that I could definitely go without seeing is the running list of the nicknames that Cam Newton has for the rest of the team. That might have been cool the first time I ever saw it tweeted. Now it's like 50 players deep, and he has a nickname for every single guy. And it's like, dude, mac and cheese isn't like. I mean, I do kind of like that nickname, but I don't need to know. I don't care. Like every single player on the team, it's just like. That's a guy that walks into like a party meeting new people, and as he's like meeting, he's like, hey, like, nice, how's it going, your name's Jake, I'm Ev. He just immediately starts thinking of a nickname for you, and you never want to be that guy that gives the nickname when it's too early, like, hey, Big J Jake. It's like, what? This guy fucking doesn't even know me.
I don't like that nickname. Again.
Well, you wouldn't like Cam then.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think like in terms of opportunity, like Mac Jones has now going to have every starter rep for the next week. Like it could be something where this is I'm blanking on it. The classic, Wally Pipkins, Lou Gehrig. What's the talking about?
Yeah,
yeah,
Brady Bledsoe.
Yeah, exactly. This could be it. Like this could be Mac Jones could take this job over in the next week and never give it back to Cam Newton. Like that could happen.
I mean,
I will say,
yeah.
I mean, like the way he played that ball to Gunnar Olszewski, the one way, like even it was called back on a holding, but when he scrambled left and like hit Sony Michel, who's now I feel like being used like Sony Michel is supposed to, it's all of a sudden catching the ball in the backfield. The running backs at display, I don't know how they're going to go about their cuts at running back. Like Evan, I saw that you tweeted something like, would you rather cut JJ Taylor and Sony Michel or something like that? And like it was on the Guy Boston account. And it was like 50-50. I love JJ Taylor. I'm high on him. You cannot cut Sony Michel over JJ Taylor.
Over
right
JJ
now.
Taylor.
Like Sony Michel looks great. Like to me, like they all are looking great. JJ Taylor's they're doing a lot of their damage in that Eagles game against like fourth stringers. So it's like you got to pump the brakes a little bit. But I don't know. I love all their backs. It's going to be a cut.
They all add something unique too, which
exactly.
is like what makes the group like that somewhat like exciting. Is that they're not like four of the same back. It's like they're all different. They all add like a different trait. They all could be used differently. Like that's so. I think there is a role for every single one of them. But I don't know. Do you keep like Bolden as well? Just because it's the special teamers, like it's just kind of hard. Like I don't know what they do. Do they keep one less wide receiver than normal and keep more backs because they're going to be running a lot? Like
they all have a role. I just wonder if it's like if they're all necessary roles. Like do you need a specialist at this role, or can the guy that does it semi well but he flourishes in a different area, can he kind of handle that role? So I don't think you go, what do they have, 5 active? Is it 5?
Yeah, with Bolden.
I don't think
6, isn't it? Wait.
Actually, it is 6. You're right.
Either way, I was gonna use 5 as the number. I was gonna use 5 as the number. You don't usually see 5 guys, 1 carried on the roster, 2 literally utilized for their specialties. Like that's just so unheard of. So I think we're gonna see some scissors at some point there, and I don't really know.
I could see Bolden hasn't been practicing, I don't think, or he hasn't been playing really. So I could see him. Maybe they put him on IR or something, and like
a little phantom, the Foxborough flu action.
He's a good locker room guy too. Like he'll hang around the locker room, be kind of that guy. Like I'm sure they'll figure out a way to make that work.
And like someone's gonna get hurt in the air too.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have like that's what happens at position. So it's like I just like hate to see JJ Taylor. I know that guy's gonna be picked up immediately if you cut him. I really enjoy.
Like, he's gone if you can't put him in the practice squad. Like,
no, he'll never. He's better. I've been watching. I mean, I don't know. It's preseason football. You guys have been watching, but I'm like watching other teams. I'm like, these guys. Our backfield is so deep, and it's just not being talked about. Like you see even like Philly, and it's like they got like a few backs, like 2. So like Miles Sanders, like Boston Scott, like I think they have one other guy. I can't think of his name. But also speaking of that, I was so disappointed Jalen Hurts. In fact, that was like the second I heard that news, I'm like, well, this game just got a lot more boring. Like,
see Joe Flacco for roll out there.
He's elite though.
Is he?
It'll be interesting to see if this third game, because usually the third preseason game is like the one with all the starters play the most. It's like the most. It'll be interesting to see since this is actually the last preseason game. Is it different? Like, do the Pats actually play a lot of the starters versus the Giants?
I feel like they treat it like it's the 4th.
I think it's the 4th too.
Yeah,
I heard around the league that I don't think I don't think starters are playing although there's a lot of team. I find preseason football to be very odd this year because of all these guys who are saying they're like quarterbacks saying they like won't play in the games. And like Kyler Murray said something. It's like where I find it odd that all of a sudden these quarterbacks think like playing preseason games is no longer necessary. And they're looking at last year as like the evidence for that because there was no preseason games last year and week 1 played off, I guess, without a hitch. But I think that's a pretty bad precedent to set. I, for one, like preseason football. And I know like Tom Brady, he like played preseason games. We grew up with that. Peyton Manning played preseason games. I don't know where these like younger quarterbacks. I feel like these younger quarterbacks are a little too entitled that they like think they can just walk to week 1 and not have to take snaps. So I find that a bit odd.
I feel like it's kind of like college basketball players skipping out on their end of the season tournaments and whatnot because they've already kind of solidified their draft stock. It's like these little they're like, oh, like I've already accomplished everything. I know what's gonna happen. Like a Kyler Murray, for example. Guy's not losing his spot because he didn't go to preseason. So he's like, exactly. Why would I play that? Which, I mean, I'd like to see them like trot it out there and whatnot.
It's interesting to see, especially this like the shortened preseason, and then there's gonna be an extended break between. I think the Pats like 12 to 14 days between the last preseason game and their home and their opening game. So it's like that's new too. That's a longer break than normal. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see like how it all plays out.
Yeah, because that 2 weeks, say call it just 2 weeks for the sake of argument. Like if a guy gets bumped and bruised, that's plenty of time to recoup from that third game. But knock on wood, if some guy goes out there and actually gets injured, I think it's still going to be treated like it's the last game prior to the last preseason game prior to the season.
I'm sure we'll see a lot of Hoyer on next Sunday.
Can't wait for that.
There's gonna be a lot of Hoyer.
Maybe
hopefully the last time we see Hoyer.
Double vaxxed Hoyer. Guys ready to go.
Double vaxxed and waxed.
I'm gonna say I'm like really high on this guy. I don't feel like he gets the credit. Whenever someone talks about him, they're just like, yeah, he's like a decent like third wide receiver, and I'm starting to buy in a little bit more on him. Jacoby Myers, he's just like he's always. I know he's like doing it against second stringers. I think him and Cam Newton is one thing that I will say. Jacoby Myers and Cam Newton, we saw it last year. We're seeing it again. They do have this like connection, and for whatever reason, I don't know. Like Jacoby Myers, you're talking separation. I feel like the guy's always open. Like
Stidham had it with him too, right? Didn't Stidham? I think Myers just a very connectable guy. Yeah.
He also catches the ball. I remember, and he's just like he's reliable. And whenever someone talks about him, I feel like last year people were saying like, yeah, well, someone's got to get targets, right? And we had just like pretty mediocre wide receivers. So it was almost like, yeah, he's catching balls late in the season, but like someone's going to catch balls. So that was like the argument against him. But now it's like they're a little deeper out there. You had like Kendrick Bourne, you had Nelson Aguilar, even like you had some other targets. And when I'm looking at like Cam Newton, I know like I'm not saying like his touchdown is pretty easy, but it's the fact that he's just that open, and it's just not a freak occurrence anymore. Like I don't look at it, and I don't think anyone's ever really talking about him. And I just wanted to bring him up. I just wanted to bring him up because
I think he's wide receiver 1 this year for them.
No, it's not N'Keal Harry, that's for sure.
Why not? It's probably going to be tight ends and him.
I think Aguilar's role is going to be like the deep threat, take the top off the defense, open up the field for the tight ends. But in terms of like production, I think I wouldn't be shocked if Jacoby Myers is their leading receiver this year. Not including the tight ends, but leading wide receiver in terms of production.
It's also like looking at what Mac Jones did. Like I know it's so hard to know. I looked at his performance last week, like week 2, so differently than week 1 because like everyone was gushing over in week 1, but pretty much everything was chuck downs except for that one deep ball to Wilkerson that should have been caught for a touchdown, a better play should have been made on the ball. But regardless, this past week, like you saw the ceiling, I feel like, of this team with Mac Jones. And when he was driving the ball down the field, I think we punted once, like throughout several possessions. And I don't know. I just see like there's something there with that kid. Like it's hard not to be excited about Mac Jones right now. He really does look like the real deal. And I don't know how much stock to put into preseason. So it's almost like you want to pump the brakes, but I don't know. There's something there with that kid.
I feel like we've seen rookies come out and stink in preseason, right? And then that maybe is telling. So it's like at least a step in the right direction that a guy goes out there. And I think we all kind of agreed on it on the first episode, and I'm sure everyone that's a Patriots fan agrees on it. There's one thing Mac Jones kind of does is it gets that Patriots offense looking like a Patriots offense again. Like we watched Cam Newton kind of, I don't even know what to call it last year, especially after the COVID break. And now we finally get this quarterback that can kind of fit it into a tight window or make the right check down play or, go deep when he needs to and run the hurry up and everything like that. It's really, I guess, refreshing because that's what we're all used to, especially people our age and the type of Patriots football that we've grown up with.
So this is actually a good transition to and maybe a good closing segment here. But Felger and Maz, I was listening to I never listened to those guys, but I was listening the other day. And they had someone on who was talking about Mac Jones' ceiling. And I'm blanking who it was, but said he thinks Mac Jones' ceiling is Andy Dalton.
The worst thing of it. That stinks.
Andy Dalton.
That is just
It's just horrible. I mean, he's just another guy. He's just another guy. He's Andy Dalton.
I don't even know if it's Andy Dalton's just another guy.
No, I mean,
give me any other guy over Andy Dalton.
I think he said Kirk Cousins might be his peak, is what he said. Like, and so I just want to get your take on that. Like, who do you compare Mac Jones to? What's his upside? What's his floor? Like, give me a QB he reminds you of a little bit that you could see him being at that level. I put you on the spot.
This is tough. I mean, the one thing I'll say, like, that's different. Like, I think to call him like Andy Dalton, or I think the reason why people are so excited about Mac Jones is because you're watching him out there. There's one thing he does not look like, and that's a rookie. This guy's coming into the games and he just looks composed. And that's why I'm saying, like, he looks like he doesn't look nervous. He's throwing out of the end zone on 3rd and 13 on his first drive. Then later on that drive, they get another holding call. And so it's like he's putting long yardage situations and he's gunning the ball downfield. It's no longer like you can see that he's getting more confidence. I don't know what guy I would compare him to, but I just don't. Looking back at like Andy Dalton, like I never saw that kind of like confidence in his game, especially at like 22. And like Kirk Cousins, I don't really see that at all, to be honest. Like I see Andy Dalton more than Kirk Cousins just because of like the kind of like demeanor, I guess. But I don't really Kirk Cousins, like I don't know, they play differently. I'm trying to give you a better name here, but I'll think.
Matt Ryan's a good one, I think.
Matt Ryan's
arm is probably a little bit better.
You know what I mean, I don't love this comparison because you think of him later in his career, but like almost like I think he could be a better version of Chad Pennington. And Chad Pennington earlier in his career was good. And Chad Pennington, had a bad injury and he could never really throw it downfield. But like Mac Jones, like I think it's just people are underestimating this guy's deep ball. Does he throw it with like the most zip in the world? Is he like doing it like Patrick Mahomes and like Josh Allen? No, but he can drop it in a bucket, and we've seen it. So it's like to say like Andy Dalton. Like I've not seen Andy Dalton ever make that throw to N'Keal Harris. I've literally not. So honestly, like I see like almost a little bit of like Eli Manning in him, but hopefully with fewer mistakes. Like kind of like that.
Interesting one.
Like Eli Manning versus Patriots.
Yeah, like Eli Manning in the playoff run. Eli Manning, where like he's just like. That Mario Manningham throw against the Patriots, like that's what Mac Jones could. He can make that throw. Not a lot of guys can make that throw. So like, and the moment isn't. I'm saying like with Mac Jones, the moment is not too big for him. Like we can see that. We saw that in the national championship. We just see that he looks composed. And with Eli Manning, say what you want about him, when he got to the stage, he did not shrink. So maybe that I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I it's hard to like pin a certain guy to him.
He's also 22 and hasn't played an NFL game yet. So
and I don't want to overhype, but like I do think like saying the ceiling of Andy Dalton's like an absurd take. Like I see this guy, I don't see him ever being Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or Brady, where he's the number one guy in the league. But I think he's a top 10. Like I think his potential is a top 10 quarterback, like year in and year out. And so I don't know. To me, I think like they're different players, but like I almost see the ceiling as like a Tony Romo type, like never the best in the league, but like consistently puts up big numbers, Pro Bowler. Like hopefully he has a better luck in the playoffs than Romo did. But that's the kind of guy I see him like never the guy, but just a really, really good quarterback for a long time in the NFL. And they seem like Romo was really smart, got the ball quick. He was a little more of a scrambler and whatever. But that's kind of the ceiling I see for Mac.
I like that. I like the ceiling of every offseason. You're not like talking about your QB drama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we got spoiled with that. we've had a couple of years now where we are talking about that, but there's NFL teams around the league that are doing that every single season, or every single offseason, I should say. He's the type of guy that, hey, he's going to come in here and, not to use this cliche term, but do his job, and it's his job in particular, and he'll have some really, really good years. Maybe he'll have some years where it's like his off year, but he's still an absolute, lock of a quarterback or starting quarterback. So I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of stupid to say, Andy Dalton after 6 quarters of football, maybe if that really.
But I mean, it worked, right?
It
worked because we're talking about it. So I
would say if anything, like Andy Dalton is floor. Like that's why it's absurd take. I'm saying I think Mac Jones is already Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I think
so. It's like this is ridiculous to say that that's a ceiling.
Who would you rather on your team right now, Andy Dalton or Mac Jones?
Mac Jones is winning more games this year with the Patriots than if Andy Dalton was starting quarterback. And I would. So it's just I think that's a ridiculous take. And I think Andy Dalton used to be better, back in Cincy. But the guy ever win a playoff game? No, right? He never won one. I don't think. Wasn't that like Mark? So it's like. That's his sailing to never win a playoff game. Piss off. That's what
how can you win a playoff game if you're nicknamed after a dog's bone sauce?
Well, I think that might be a good spot to end.
You think?
I don't know.
Well, we'll update you guys of the revenue next episode. This one's probably 0.
I think 350. I think we got 350.
Do you think? Let me ask you this, Jake. Do you think the revenue is based on the content and how good the show is? Because it's strictly a numbers thing.
The better content, the second episode, we're gonna have a little bit more viewers. I would hope. I think we're there.
All right.
We haven't really marketed this at all.
We're already there. I love that.
We're reacting. This is like our second preseason game. We're already saying we're a Hall of Famer.
Well, to be clear, Adam and I didn't say that. That you said that.
I said that.
I think we might have the sailing of Andy Dalton as a podcast.
I'll take that. Actually.
All right. Well,
I won't take it for Mac Jones, but I'll take it for this podcast for sure.
I'll take that as well.
Okay. We'll rename it to the Red Rocket Pod. Kind of has a ring to it.
It'd be a good podcast for Andy Dalton fans. That's a good pod name.
No kidding. It's his nickname. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Down Pat. This was episode 2. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and like this video and let us know in the comments down below what you think. We're taking all the feedback in the comments. We got a bunch of it. Shout out to Kenny Doherty in the comments of last episode. Definitely one of the, I think we can call him probably the OG Down Pat fan because he was responding to stuff we were saying, multiple comments. So shout out to Kenny, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.